Hello everybody and welcome to another video on the Pole Position YouTube channel. In this video we're going to be discussing Lewis Hamilton finally signing his new contract at Mercedes for the 2021 season. Interestingly enough, it's only a one-year deal, so it will only be for this up and coming season, and we're going to delve into a little bit more into the fact that it is only a one-year deal. But the driver lineups for this year have all been announced now, so yeah, without further ado, let's get into this contract. So yes, Lewis Hamilton and Mercedes have finally announced a new deal, with the 7-time world champion signing a one-year contract with the team for 2021. Now there are a number of reasons why this contract is only a one-year deal. First of all, it's the fact that they struggled to get any negotiations done before the end of last season. I think it was scheduled for around the 2 weeks they had in Bahrain, but obviously Lewis Hamilton became unwell and George Russell took the seat for the last weekend in Bahrain. So obviously they didn't have time to do any negotiations there. I don't think they did anything in terms of Abu Dhabi simply because it was the last race of the season. So I think the only contract talks, when the actual contract talks started, wasn't until the last couple of days before Christmas. So it has been sort of a rushed contract negotiation, hence why I think that's one of the reasons why it's only a one-year deal. In regards to it being a one-year deal as well, I think it's a one-year deal for the driving part, but I think very much Hamilton and Mercedes is going to be a long-term partnership going forward. So I think it was just easier to maybe get a one-year deal done now, just to make sure that everything is sorted going into this season, because it is a very last-minute deal to be done. And then maybe halfway through this year they might sit down and discuss further. I mean, ultimately it might be the case where Lewis Hamilton wins the championship this season and feels it's enough and wants to retire. Hence why maybe that's another reason why the one-year deal is down. I think it's also interesting that not only is Lewis Hamilton out of contract at the end of this year now, with him only signing a one-year deal, but Valtteri Bottas only has a one-year deal to the end of this year, and so does George Russell. So again, that plays into the ball game of Mercedes, where there's 3 really top drivers in that Mercedes program that are fighting for them 2 seats for next season. It might be the case, like I've just mentioned, where Lewis Hamilton bows out and after this year, and it's Bottas and Russell for next year. Maybe Hamilton wants to stay and Bottas doesn't perform. Does Russell then get the seat, or does it stay the same next year where it's Hamilton Bottas again with Russell maybe in a Mercedes Williams that is even stronger maybe than where Williams are going into this season? So all these different factors are coming into play with this deal only being until the end of this up and coming season. I ultimately think actually it's a good thing for both parties. I think, like I said, with the fact that it is quite a rushed deal, to just make sure they get this year sorted, and obviously go into testing now, the car unveiling, and to the first race weekend in Bahrain, just to make sure now this is all sorted. They have the contract for this year, and then pick a place, pick a time when they want to maybe go into extension of this contract. Toto Wolff said, "We jointly agreed on a one-year deal. Obviously there's a regulation coming in 2022, and we also want to see how the world develops, and obviously the company as well." Wolff, obviously that was what Toto Wolff told everybody on Monday. On the other side, we obviously have kept it very late. Like I said, in terms of Bahrain, it was in terms of a positive test for Lewis Hamilton, so he wasn't there on the weekend. Lewis Hamilton, he's gone on to mention Lewis Hamilton needs to decide what his future holds for him, which is why I wouldn't want to comment on what his thoughts are at the moment. On the other side, the team needs to decide its long-term future and what we're going to do with our drivers. Valtteri and Lewis have our 100% commitment and loyalty for 2021. Again, that was something that was mentioned, maybe the case that halfway through the season they might replace George Russell for Valtteri Bottas. That is not going to happen, as Toto Wolff has stated. They have 100% commitment and loyalty throughout the season. Again, I don't know if that's a little dig at Red Bull, the fact that they have that sort of itchy trigger finger, where they swap drivers over halfway through the season. That is not what Mercedes are planning to do. We will then look beyond this year and say what their lineup is for 2022, but Lewis and Valtteri are both staying in the car for the remainder of this season. Now obviously, like I said, in terms of it only being a one-year deal, but Mercedes and Lewis Hamilton are going to have a stronger partnership going forward. I think one of the main parts for Lewis Hamilton is to make sure that F1 is becoming more diverse, and there's more opportunities for anybody to be able to come into the sport. And obviously, in doing this, they've created a joint charitable foundation, which will have the mission of supporting greater diversity and inclusion in all its forms in motorsport. And that is a Lewis Hamilton and Mercedes charitable foundation. So both of them have came up with this and are starting this for this year. So like I said, I think that was one of the main things of his contract this year, and I think going forward it'll certainly be one of his main things. Even if he's not a driver, say for next season, they'll be still working very much closely together in terms of Hamilton and Mercedes. Lewis Hamilton has gone to say, "I'm excited to be heading into my 9th season with my Mercedes teammates. Our team has achieved incredible things together, and we look forward to building our success even further and continually to improve both on and off the track. I'm equally determined to continue the journey we started to make motorsport more diverse for future generations as well, and I'm grateful that Mercedes have been extremely supportive of my call to address this issue. I am proud to say we are taking that effort further this year by launching a foundation dedicated to diversity and inclusion in the sport, and I'm inspired by all that we can build together and can't wait to get back on the track in March." Now obviously that's mentioned in the fact that testing will be starting in March as well, but I think, like I said, that's one of his main, probably one of the main points of his contract, is he wanted to make sure this was starting for this season. And I think it's, like I said, it is important because it gives something for Lewis Hamilton to do outside of when he decides to retire as a driver. So I think it's important that Mercedes and him have decided to launch that foundation for this year. Most importantly, in terms of the contract, it's just good that we've now got the full driver lineup for this 2021 season. I will probably go through the actual full driver lineup in another video, but it's good now we finally know the actual driving lineup. We all knew it was a matter of time before Lewis Hamilton and Mercedes signed that deal, and again, I think it is important for both parties that it's only a 1-year deal to see where this season goes. Not to make the point, but there is that regulation change, that big regulation change in 2022 as well, which will probably play a really important factor as to whether Lewis Hamilton will stay going into 22. But yeah, that's my thoughts on it. Thank you very much for watching this video. Please subscribe to the YouTube channel, it really does mean a lot, and I will see you all in the next video. Take care, see you soon.